Hi, my name is Jude Titus, and I'm a licensed general contractor in the state of Maryland. And while I could show you some of the work we've done in the last several years, finished bathrooms, beautiful renovations, home additions, kitchens, I want to talk about what most contractors don't seem to talk about, which is what happens behind the scenes. Not just how work is done, but more of the complexity and more of the challenging aspects of contracting, which is client to contractor relationship. So the way I want to present this is through case studies. So I'm going to walk you through some projects that I've done where there was some difficulties, both on especially from the homeowner side, and how contractors deal with it or how I dealt with it, and the lessons that I've learned from it. And hopefully this will shed some light to other contractors that may experience something similar and how to help deal with it. In this series, we're going to break down real situations and the lessons behind them. The first mistake I made wasn't in the paint, it wasn't in the timeline, and it wasn't even in the scope. It was the contract. I allowed my contract to be edited before work even started. That was a red flag, and that decision changed the power dynamic for the entire project. This episode is not about a bad client. It's not blaming anyone. It's about behavioral risk. We're not trained to assess behavioral risk. In construction, we're trained to evaluate scopes, structural issues, material costs, permit delays, but we're not taught to evaluate leverage. Leverage begins with a contract. Before we began, the contract was reviewed and clauses were modified. The revisions increased the homeowner's protection and decreased the contractor's protection. At that time, I agreed. Not because I didn't understand the implications, but because I believed that alignment would carry the project. That was my miscalculation. The moment your standard contract becomes hyper customized for one client, leverage shifts. And once leverage shifts before mobilization, it rarely shifts back. Contract edits are not automatically red flags, but they are data. They tell you how a client approaches conflict. They tell you how a client views risk. They tell you whether the relationship is collaborative or protective. And homeowners should understand this too. When you over-engineer a contract out of fear, you may unintentionally create a defensive contractor. Construction works best when both sides share risk, not when one side attempts to eliminate it. I told myself professionalism would override friction if it ever arose. But contracts are not just paperwork. They are psychological agreements. If alignment is fragile on paper, it will not be stronger under pressure. This case taught me something very important. Contractors must assess behavioral risk, not just scope risk. And homeowners must understand that trust is built through balance and not control. First red flag was not the paintbrush. The first red flag wasn't the paint punch list. It was the leverage before we even started the job. So this is going to be a several part series because I want to break this particular job down. So I'm starting with the first flag that went wrong with this project, which was the contract. So next episode will focus on just what started to go wrong and how the imbalance started to show up. Hit subscribe so you can follow this case study through. Our next episode covers the development and how things started to unravel. Not rather quickly, but in a way that was subtle and then where it just became explosive. See you on the next one.